done a lot more sanding. Don't need to bore you with that. Same old. I'm gonna loosen up a couple of these and see if this gap will close, and then I'm gonna start drilling it for the number 10 screws that hold the hinges on. I'm doing one at a time, but I'm gonna try to loosen this one up because I think the epoxy made it skew a little bit. Okay, I think you guys get the drift. I'm gonna break off here and we'll show you this when it's done. I fitted all the machine screws in place of the drywall screws and got the doors adjusted. That's what they look like. I probably need to put the longer screws in here because it's thicker. That's all right though. I was just verifying that they're gonna fit. Same thing on the other side, those are all in place. So I'm gonna blow it all apart, put the hinges away, put the bolts back in, and continue to march. I'll drill these holes out for the screws. Probably 2 sizes larger than the 3/16 and maybe 1/4 inch. And that will give me a little room for epoxy and a little room to wiggle the hinges if I need to adjust the doors. Got all the holes in the body, and the doors are drilled now to 730 seconds. I'm gonna coat those with epoxy next time I'm doing epoxy work. Got the door hinges there. I found that I didn't have enough flat cutaway. I'm going to trim that a little more with a razor blade, level it out, but I had to use a bit to level it out because the nut was not seated. It was seating at an angle. And on that one too. And so that's where I'm at now. I think tonight I'll just mix up enough epoxy to epoxy in these door sills and put another coat over the window eyebrows or door eyebrows. And what I did, I want to fill these holes up here with epoxy, or at least really heavily coat them. So I taped off the inside of the bulkhead, the inside side of it. This is on the galley side. So I'm making these little dams. I'm going to pour a little bit of epoxy in there. Hopefully it goes all the way in the hole and fills it up. Not leaving too big of an air bubble. And that's how that's going to be filled. So I have to do a little more. I think I saw it earlier. I have to do a little more in there. And a little more in that one. That one. It's got some divots still. So I'm mixing up a little bit with fillet flour. And so in the meantime, I'm going to drill these through with a 3/16 bit and then the 730 seconds. I've already fitted the hatch. It fits pretty well. I don't think I need to put it back on to do this, so I'm going to do that. Just get this oriented. Okay, when I drill those holes, they left the big burr, so I'm going to hit those with the sander. One thing I am going to do, not in the book, is right here is where the latch goes on. Where the latch goes on, there's no fiberglass on this, so I cut a little piece. In the next fiberglassing mission, I will insert another piece of glass here. I should have ran this middle piece, especially since I just replaced it. I should have ran that all the way up, and I wouldn't have to do another one. So, but that is what it is. It doesn't take any time, really. These are the holes through the roof for the galley hatch hinge. There is no fiberglass in this section, so I sanded that. I'm going to cut a little piece of glass, and I'm going to probably stick that there as a reinforcement for the hood hinge, or the galley hatch hinge. On both sides, there's no fiberglass there, so I have enough scrap. I'll cut a nice little piece and zip it up there, and that'll be a little more reinforcement for the screws to stick to. And this side here, the side bolts are fiberglassed, so they should be good. As is this side. This side though, I must have shifted this over a little bit because it's really close. I'm gonna have to sand this away and get some clearance for the nut. I couldn't get the nut on this one, but I have a miniature drum sander. I'll get that out and I'll sand that fillet away, and I should be able to get a bolt on there. Got the small sanding roll on here. I'm going to try to eliminate this filleting here so that I can get the nut and the little washer on in there. Dipped it into the wood a little bit, but that's probably because when I put this in, this side is in towards the front of the trailer too far. And that's because I glued the seam up here figured, oh, it's just got to be straight. So I put a block up here to make this straight. I should have left this loose, unglued, I should say, and not put the filleting in here to mate the two until I had both sides in, because I had to get a good gap over here and I had to compromise over here, and I shifted it, but then it got close to these holes where the hinges are. But it's handled. Once the insulation's in here, you'll never see anything. Not that it even matters. So the next thing I'm going to do, the little discs of birch plywood I made the other day, I'm going to paint those black. I've taken the disc, I don't know if it shows up or not, you can see the pencil line. So I'm going to take that disc and put it up there next time I'm epoxying. I'm painting those black, Teresa wanted black. And then I'm going to take the clamp and clamp it in place, and then put the epoxy on there, and then it'll be permanent. Okay, I'm using this Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch paint and primer, satin canyon black. The first coat went on. It was a pre-finished plywood. I just scuffed it, sanded it. That was great. But along the edges, which is raw plywood, it's soaked in, so it's definitely going to need 2-3 coats. Make sure you shape well, of course. And I'll use the little shims they provide in the kit to line up the gaps when I torque the bolts down. Should be good. I discovered my little wire trough. One of them comes up the bottom, and one comes up from the top. One goes this way because I haven't decided really which way to run the wires yet. Most likely it's going to be down, but I want to have that option. The other side's free, but this one's plugged by epoxy fillet. So I ran a drill bit up through there when it was wet, but it must have collapsed down in there and blocked it off. So first I tried to run a drill bit up in there and turn it with a little vice grip. Not going to work. It's not even taking chunks out of it as I'm trying to turn it. I just can't get any speed and force behind it. So I did a little experiment. I heated up a nail and one of the blobs of epoxy on the ground. Tried it. Yeah, it'll burn right through it or melt it. I don't have to get it red hot. I just got to get it hot. Oh, there it goes. Yep. Yeah, baby. You can see the stuff coming through. But I want to be able to get a double wire through there. Now this is not red, so it's not going to be melting and burning the wood. So just clearing out that epoxy. Okay, I modified the nail. I took the point off of it. I cut off the point and filed it flat. We'll see how that works. I bet it works a lot better. There we go. Success. I'm going to use acetone and microfiber cloth, clean door sills. So you're going to paint them with epoxy. First coat with a paintbrush, and maybe next weekend I'll put a final coat of epoxy on the outside of the trailer and down to about a cup in the 3rd gallon of the Moss epoxy that they gave us. And we have 1 gallon left from the original kit. I believe that'll be enough. Okay, the edge of the hatch, I'm going to clean that. show you how this little brush works. Like I said, it's a brand new one. And you got these white specks here, which is generally, it's sanding dust packed into the little miniature air bulbs that have been sanded through. So stained it a little bit. I'll have to do a little sanding. Brush let the little brown stain up there, gray stain, so I have to get that off there. Let's see if maybe a little more liquid will get it. Okay, let's see if that dries. White. It's right up in here. That pretty much got it. A lot of times if it's just dust in there, the epoxy soaks into the dust and turns it clear. Can't count on that though. I went over this with bright light last night when I was laying that fiberglass. I didn't see any bubbles there, but this was kind of an area of in here somewhere. Maybe it was down here. There was like a not so clear, and then I ran over it with. Still have a little bit of the denatured alcohol left. I went over that with that, and it got them to melt back in through the web of the fiberglass. Okay. I can see how that comes out. If it's ugly, I can sand it more later. Okay, so I went inside and I coated the insides of the door rims. I mixed about 12 pumps. I've been getting the screw holes by taking a Q-tip and putting them right in there. Punching the tube, as we used to say. Got the holes that are going to hold prop rod supports filled with epoxy. Basically, I took the Q-tip, ran it in there, saturated it, and then I had these little pieces of tape to funnel the epoxy in there. I'll sand them later. I put a coat of epoxy over where the bubbles were from the WD-40 get on there. It seems to be okay now after I've sanded it, and I've got the eyebrows, got a second coat of epoxy. And got it up underneath the lip. I got the lip of the door rim, the groove saturated really well. I got both inside parts of the door rims, a few other little bare spots like on the bulkhead. You can't really see, that's better. Bulkhead, the little taped areas, that's where I put tape over it so the epoxy wouldn't drip in. I coated the opening of the hatch for the fan, 2 coats. I used Q-tips down the holes. The back sides of these, I put fiberglass to give the screws something to, or the nuts something to torque to without crushing the wood. The side's all coated with epoxy, the second coat. Once this gets sanded, I think it'll be good enough to put the final coat of epoxy. I've got almost exactly a gallon left, minus 4 pumps of new epoxy. That's the last gallon that came in the kit. I added this reinforcement Right in here, I'm gonna have the bolts for the hasp. If I decide to use the hasp, I might see if I can use the door opening hardware. Put a T-handle right here with rods going up to the side, like my other trailer. But if I do use the hasp, I'll probably put Jeep or 2 Jeep windshield latches on the sides here, and that will hold the hatch down in the corners. Some people report that they don't hold that tight. I got the holes going through for the hinges coated. I put a second coat over the piece of glass reinforcement I put in there. A little hard to see with the light, but that's what I did. I got the T that I replaced all saturated in and glassed up there. The hole for the hinges are ran through with a Q-tip and then painted over too. And the splintering is going to be covered by that. And there were a couple little spots like right here that I had sanded through to the weave. So I covered that. So that's today's big thing, the sanding and the epoxying. Good night.